So you've finally hit a point where you've started to ponder the age-old question, where do babies come from? Just kidding, not in this video. Should I record in 1080p or 4K? Depending on how old you are, it could be your entire age. Who knows? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain the differences between both, the pros, the cons, and we'll figure out which one makes the most sense. Starting right now. Hey, what's up guys? My name's Ray, this is Lit with Ray. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, I make videos on creativity and technology, so consider subscribing. And as usual, everything that I discuss in this video, I will link down in the description. It seems like some new technology is constantly coming out. Hold your breath for a second, and bam, new technology is already out. You missed it. End of the world. Now there's like 4 new Samsungs, 2 new iPhones. Better keep breathing. The future's been heading from HD, which is 720p or 1080p, up to 2K, 4K, 8K, and beyond. So what is 4K? Well, it's a screen size resolution of 3840 by 2160, which at first might make it seem like it's double the size of 1080p. But the resolution for 1080p is 1920 by 1080, which if you doubled 1920, you get 3840, and if you double 1080, you get 2160. Therefore, it's actually 4 times bigger. So this video, which is recorded in 1080p, would take up this screen size of 4K and this size of 8K. 4K is 4 times bigger than 1080p. 8K is 4 times bigger than that, so it's actually 16 times bigger than 1080p. It's crazy. So what are the pros of 4K? Well, the first and most obvious one is that it's a crispier, cleaner looking image. You gotta love that sharpness. Another benefit is if you're releasing a 1080p video, it allows you to be able to zoom in up to 4 times without losing any quality. So the close-ups are gonna get a whole lot better, you know, because you'll actually get to see the detail of like pimple scars and things like that. The next pro you could probably look at this way is that it's future-proofing. This is where technology is going. TVs are coming out in 4K, cameras are coming out in 8K. In fact, some TVs might even be 8K at this point, but they're ridiculously expensive and almost nobody is using them. 4K in a couple of years is gonna be what 1080p is now. So might as well just start the journey while you can. 1080p also has its pros though. Smaller file sizes, quicker rendering times. It also looks very good on mobile. Today, a lot of people are using their mobile devices to consume content, so they're not going to be able to tell the difference between 4K or 1080p. Another pro is you could actually upscale your 1080p footage to 4K. DaVinci Resolve, for example, in the studio version has a lossless upscaling feature where you can upscale your footage by up to 4 times. The caveat to that though is that you do need a pretty beefy system in order to do that because it eats up all those resources. And it slows it down really badly. As far as 4K cons, one of the biggest ones that stands out is storage space. 4K files, as we noticed before, are 4 times bigger than 1080p. So you gotta watch those extra takes. Make sure you do it right the first time. Do not be like me. I'm going on a long time right now. On the positive side of that though, storage is getting super cheap. Seagate's Backup Plus 8 terabyte right now is less than $150, and that's enough to last you quite a long time. And the cool thing is you can actually stock up on those and you just label them when you fill them up. That way you can always go back and reference them, get your B-roll or whatever you need to, and not have to worry about it. Another con of 4K is the increase in rendering times. It's a lot more resource intensive to be able to render 4K, and if you're just starting out or you're on a budget, chances are your system might not be able to handle it. It's gonna get expensive very quickly. It might just be better to stick with 1080p. Another con of 4K, depending on the camera that you have of course, is gonna be the crop factor, which with this camera, the Canon M50 does have a crop of 1.6 times. As Jim Samuel pointed out in the comments of one of my previous videos on why you probably don't want to get the Canon EOS M50, he said to make up for the crop factor that you just need to pick the right lens. And he's right, it's something that I didn't cover in that video. Thanks, Jim. So there are really a lot of cons when it comes down to recording in 1080p. One of the biggest ones that's gonna stand out initially is gonna be if you try to zoom in, it's gonna get ugly quickly. It's gonna be like watching the original Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo without wearing glasses. If you wear glasses. Otherwise, this one just went right over your head. Blurry and pixelated and ugly and stuff. The other con about recording in 1080p is that it doesn't look that great on a 4K screen. In fact, it goes back to that blurry issue. And it's gonna look even worse in 8K. So just to compare again real quick, here's a table of everything I discussed. I mean, 4K has a lot going for it, and yes, it's heading into the future, it's a clear picture and all of that, but it is gonna bog down your system. Going to 1080p is still relevant today because a lot of people are using their mobile devices. It's a nice clean picture, it makes sense, but it's not going to scale so well in the end. As far as my final thoughts, this comes down to where you're at in your current game. You know, are you a pro? Have you been doing this for a long time? If you're just starting out, it might make sense to start off with 1080p, and then when you're able to invest in better equipment, then start to record in 4K. And of course, there's always buying more hard drives. I've played around with recording in 4K and 1080p. Right now, I feel like it just makes more sense for me to record in 1080p, just because that's where a lot of my audience is coming from. And of course, as time goes on, I'm going to change that. 4K and upscaling is something that my Dell XPS 15 from last year struggles with. So you kind of got to make your own decision at the end of the day. So quick question for you guys. Are you recording in 1080p or are you recording in 4K? Let me know down in the comments below. Of course, I left links down in the description for everything that I talked about. Smash that like button if you got value out of this. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And of course, I'll catch you guys next time.